Most people don't give hugs much thought, since they are a simple, kind gesture and informal way to welcome someone. Because here's the truth, men remember how you make them feel. They might forget your words or miss the details of a conversation, but if you touch them in a way that stirs something deep, raw, and unexpected, they won't be able to shake it. A hug, when done with intention, is one of the most powerful tools you have. Why? Because men don't experience physical affection the way women do. They move through life carrying the weight of expectations, strength, control, composure. They're not used to being held in a way that makes them feel safe, seen, and wanted. And when you're the woman who gives them that feeling, you become unforgettable. From this moment on, every time you hug a man, he'll feel it in ways he never expected. The silent power of a hug. A hug is never just a hug, not when it's done right. Most people treat hugs as routine, a quick squeeze, a polite reflex, a brief exchange of warmth before pulling away. But what if a hug, given with real intention, could make a man think about you long after you've left? The truth is, men crave physical touch more than they admit. Society teaches them to be strong, to suppress emotion, to be untouched by affection. Most of them go through life starved of genuine, meaningful contact, and that's why a perfectly timed, deeply felt hug can have an almost hypnotic effect on a man. It's not just about touching his body, it's about reaching his mind. And once you do that, he won't be able to forget you. Science proves that physical touch triggers powerful chemical reactions in the brain. A meaningful hug releases oxytocin, the bonding hormone. It's the same chemical that makes people feel safe, connected, and deeply attached. It's released when a mother holds her newborn, when lovers rest in each other's arms after intimacy, and when someone feels truly understood. Now, imagine being the woman who effortlessly sparks that feeling in a man. Imagine hugging him in a way that makes him feel seen, wanted, and deeply connected to you. Most men don't get this kind of touch from just anyone. They experience rushed, half-hearted embraces. But if you do it differently, if you understand the psychology behind it, you'll stay on his mind for days. Where most women go wrong, many women hold back when they hug. They keep it short, stiff, polite, afraid to be fully present in the moment. But if you want a man to think about you long after the hug is over, you need to let him feel it in his soul. It all starts before the hug even happens. The pause, the moment of eye contact, the silence that builds anticipation. That's where it begins split second. The tension is created before the hug even occurs. Next, don't rush it. Instead, let your body melt into his, making him feel your warmth, presence, and softness against him. Lastly, the real trick is to pull away. Men are accustomed to women breaking the embrace too quickly, but if you linger for even a single second longer, letting your hands drop into his, he will feel that moment in his bones if you delicately trace over his back or grasp his arm before drawing away. He will then think of you too every time he imagines warmth, comfort, or connection. The delicate art of utilizing an embrace to arouse desire. What if I told you that a hug could be so much more than simply a pleasant greeting or a casual way to say hello or goodbye? What if a man's simple embrace might drive him to need you without even recognizing why? Because here's the reality. One of the most potent psychological triggers in human connection is physical touch. It transcends reason, enters the subconscious, and creates an impression that lasts long after the moment is over. Done correctly, a hug can accomplish something that words could never do. It can create an intimate moment without a word being spoken. When done correctly, he won't just enjoy the hug, he'll start wanting more. Although males are physically predisposed to respond to physical contact, They don't think about it as much as women do. Men naturally shake hands and maintain their distance from women when they embrace their friends. They don't get that kind of casual intimacy from random people, so when a woman hugs him in a way that seems purposeful and intentional, he notices and, more importantly, feels it. A man's need for intimacy may be sparked by a well-executed embrace, and once it is sparked, it is difficult to quell. Here's the secret: most women. The 3-second rule is where the magic occurs. 1 second, he feels the warmth of your body against his, and 2 seconds later, his mind recognizes the softness of you. An embrace that is too lengthy might seem uncomfortable, while an embrace that is too fast feels impersonal. His brain begins to register the sensation of intimacy, and as his body begins to calm down, you gently move away, not suddenly or icily, but rather by letting your hands rest lightly on his arm or back, trail off just a little as you move away, and his brain does something interesting. It begins to replay the hug because he's now conscious of your presence in a way that he wasn't before. He's thinking about how you felt, how you smelled, and how easily he fit into that moment with you, and that feeling stays with him. He may not even know why, but he'll start wanting to be around you more, and will look for reasons to touch you and close the distance whenever he can, all because of a single hug. A well-timed, flawlessly executed delay can transform an ordinary embrace into something unforgettable. And if you want to make a man think about you long after you've let go, you need to become an expert at the delayed release technique. Most women end an embrace too quickly, letting go as soon as they feel they should. Why does it function, and what is the delayed release? The reason the delayed release works is because unexpected moments in human psychology cause deeper emotional reactions. It's the extra moment of connection that occurs after the hug should have ended, but before it does. It's that subtle pause, that extra second where you don't just let go, but instead let him feel your presence for just a beat longer. The majority of men anticipate that hugs will be predictable and typical. Squeeze the usual breakaway quickly, but when you hold it for a second longer, he notices a change, and his body relaxes into yours. His mind senses the warmth when you're not in a hurry to release go, and at that precise instant, you've subtly inserted a notion that won't leave the key. Don't pull away too quickly. Instead, make the pressure seem pleasant and natural. Allow the parting to seem natural, as if you're hesitant to go but won't push yourself. Make sure he understands that if he expects a quick hug but feels that you hold on a little bit longer, his mind will lock on to that moment. When you finally pull away, look at him and hold his gaze for a brief moment before breaking eye contact. At that point, his heart skips a beat, and his mind begins to wonder if that was just a hug or something more. The best part is that he won't even realize you did it on purpose, but he will keep thinking about you until one day he realizes he can't stop thinking about you. 4. The impact of the backstroke. Most women believe that an embrace is done when it ends, but there is a quick tip that may help you keep a guy thinking about you long after you've parted ways. What is the backstroke? Because humans are wired to react to unexpected sensory experiences. When something feels different than usual, the brain takes notice. In a standard hug, he won't remember it, but if, as you're pulling away, your hand lightly traces down his back just enough for him to feel it, but not enough for it to seem deliberate, his brain will light up like a firework. Why? It's the slight, intentional movement of your hand across his back just before the hug ends, a subtle, lingering touch that keeps the connection alive even as the embrace fades. The majority of people hug with stiff arms and courteous, robotic detachment, but when your hand moves and there's an extra touch that lingers, he feels something deeper. His body remembers that sensation, and his mind replays the moment. Even hours later, when he's sitting by himself or lying in bed, he will still feel the ghost of your touch, and that's when he realizes he wants more. The trick is to make it seem inadvertent, like your hand just went down his back naturally as the hug came to an end. Let your fingers brush against him for half a second longer than expected, then step away as if nothing happened. That's when the seed is planted in his mind. That's when he starts wondering, was that on purpose, or was that just her natural way of hugging? And once a man starts wondering about you, he won't stop thinking about you. 5. The whispered goodbye hug. Most women don't say anything when they hug a man. They just embrace, pull away, and move on. But if you want a hug to haunt his thoughts, to make sure he never forgets the moment, you need to use the power of the whispered goodbye. Why words can transform a simple hug. Men don't just respond to touch, they respond to words, especially when those words come at the right moment, in the right tone, and in close proximity. A hug already puts you in his personal space. He can feel your breath, your warmth, your energy. But when you add a soft, well-placed whisper just before you pull away, that's when his mind snaps to full attention, because words said in a moment of intimacy, to keep it simple. You don't need to plan it out too much. In fact, the more natural it sounds, the better. Here are some lines that are like magic. I wanted that flirtatious, lively, and unforgettably fun. Have a certain weight. They don't only be heard, they reach deep into the soul. The secret is, you always give him the best hugs, which make him feel special and like he has something special about him. I didn't want to let go of a slow, burning line that will play in his head for days. The trick is to say it softly right before you break the hug, letting it seem like an afterthought. Then step back, smile, and don't say another word. That's when he feels it, and his heart starts racing, even if he doesn't know why. Later, when he's by himself, that whispered phrase will keep repeating in his head until he realizes he needs to see you again.